that kind of site will cost you a lot more because there's a lot more development costs in it. Because basically this is in effect a custom website, whereas this is just like an online service. The first issue that you need to consider in terms of website costs is whether you're choosing a hosted or self-hosted type of solution. These are kind of very similar and slightly confusing terms, so let me explain that a little bit. With hosted, you have very little responsibility for the technical aspects of the website, whereas with self-hosted you have full responsibility and you have full control over that. So you can find a hosted service where you can set up a website quite easily yourself, and it'll be a little bit limited as to what you can do in terms of customization. But you will have little or no responsibility for the server being up. So for example, if you go on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den and you get thousands of visitors to your website will probably stay up if you're on a hosted service, because there are thousands of other websites and somebody is taking care of all of those details. Whereas if you're on a self-hosted system, then you need to be aware your website could go down, for example, if you were on one of those TV shows where you're getting a lot of traffic to your site, because it's your responsibility. I know that these terms are a little bit confusing. In both cases, your website is hosted somewhere online. Self-hosted doesn't mean like it's on your laptop or in your office. You can still have a third-party hosting company. But this is regular web hosting, whereas hosted means it's like a hosted service. And a typical example of that would be Shopify.com, where you can get a hosted shopping cart, and you can set up an e-commerce site on a hosted shopping cart like Shopify for $15–20 a month for maybe 25 or 30 or 50 products. You will have very little control over the site, but it'll let you get started very quickly. Whereas if you want to do that same website on a self-hosted, where you have total control over the way that the site is set up, you've total control over the software that you choose to use for it, that kind of site will cost you a lot more because there's a lot more development costs in it. Because basically this is in effect a custom website, whereas this is just like an online service. So that is the biggest issue in terms of the costs. What I would recommend, particularly if you're in early startup stage, is go with a hosted solution to start with, and then move to a self-hosted solution once you've learned what is it that you want to do with your website. You've learned some of the things that irritate you about the hosted solutions. There might be some things, say for example, if you chose Shopify for your e-commerce, there may be a certain way to do inventory management that you want to do that their system doesn't allow. So you may want to move, say, to a self-hosted system like Magento, which will cost you a lot more, but you might see benefits of scale from moving over to that. That's the big difference. If you're going to go self-hosted, then you have total control over your website. You can do whatever you want with it, and that's a big advantage. But the downside of that is much higher costs.
Did you like this video? If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up below the video.